All right. Good morning. I am David Olchowski, and I am the owner of Acadia Action Coach Business Coaching, and we are doing a workshop today called the 5 Ways to Grow Your Business Workshop. And I am joined, you'll meet him in a minute. His name is Dan Callahan. He is also a coach with our coaching firm. And as we get started, I'm going to look for introductions for the people who are with us today. And so if we could go around the room and give us your name, your business. Are you an owner or an employee? What's your number one business challenge? And what do you want to get out of today's session? So let's go to Kim.
Good morning. How are you? My name is Kim Hawkins. My business is Headco.
Kim, I don't think we can hear you.
Oh, okay. Let's see. Can you hear me now? No?
We can hear you.
Oh, okay. Good morning. Again, my name is Kim Hawkins. My business is Headco. I am the CEO, and the number one business challenge is, like all small businesses, is to make sure that we are able to meet our obligations and to be able to generate the revenue that we need to be able to meet those obligations. What do I want to get out of this session? I want to understand more about how that can work to our benefit.
Okay. Thank you, Kim. Let's go to Hyacinth.
Hi, good morning, everyone. I am Hyacinth. I am the owner of the Laundry Basket LLC. I'm sorry. And the number one business challenge is growing, but maintaining our profitability.
Okay. And what would you like to get out of today's session?
Oh, 5 ways to grow my business.
Okay, that's great. Then you came to the right place.
I hope so.
All right, that's great. Katani, do you want to share anything?
I think from my business perspective, we're a small business. We give loans to minorities that have small businesses in underserved communities. And I think our number one challenge is really helping them to understand the finances. Because it comes across the board, time and time again, I think it's really important for them to understand what they need to do from a bookkeeping, financial management perspective to help their business.
Okay. All right, thank you, Katanya. And so let's proceed. So I'll tell you a little bit about myself. So I'm David Olchowski. A little personal information. So I'm married just this past Monday, celebrated 34 years with my wife, Kathleen. We've got a son and 2 daughters. We've lived in Connecticut for our entire, for my entire career. Prior to what I'm doing now, and we've been doing this, we launched a little more than 4 years ago. I spent a 30-year career in Connecticut aerospace manufacturing, started as an engineer at Pratt & Whitney, and eventually rose to executive ranks, not necessarily by design, but just when you're an engineer and you solve problems, doors open and you get promoted. And the secret to my success was that I surrounded myself with good people, and I coached those people up into great teams, and then great teams deliver great results for the business. And I did that on my terms and what was just a better way for me. So I was never a 60 or 70-hour-a-week workaholic. When I was young, before I had kids, I liked doing things outside of work with my friends and my wife. And when we had kids, I wanted to be involved in their lives, go to their events and their activities and coach their sports teams. And along the way, I saw an opportunity in the business community, because when I was able to be there for my kids, some parents weren't. And some of those people worked in the corporate world. And back before COVID, when there was a lot less work from home and a lot less flexibility in the workplace, some people couldn't get out if they were in a corporate job. But some of those parents were business owners, and not being a business owner myself at the time, I didn't really understand that. But as I poked at that, just out of curiosity, I heard the common refrains of business owners where when you're a business owner, it's like another child. It's 24/7, 365. You're always on. It's harder to make a buck. It's hard to find good people. It's hard to keep good people. And I just kind of tucked that information away. I thought there was a better way, but I was not in a position to preach to them at that point. When I left the corporate world in 2020, I found business coaching. I was really looking to get into business for myself. I've always had that dream. I found business coaching, and it's really, I found it to be my calling, because I really do love helping other people to succeed, whether it was in the corporate world, develop and advance in their careers, or now as a business coach, helping business owners find more time and more prosperity in their businesses. And coaching and relationships and community is the path to do that. And when I started, and it was, we officially launched October 6th of 2020, I knew that I wanted to grow something bigger than myself. And so if I did this by myself, I could touch maybe 20, 30 businesses tops before my calendar would be full. And I wanted to have a much bigger impact than that. So I wanted to start a coaching firm where we could grow and scale and help as many businesses as wanted help. And to do that, I needed somebody to help me along that journey. And so I was looking for a business development manager at that point in time, and somebody who would also become a coach and to help coach businesses. And along that path to searching for somebody to help me start this, I found Dan. And I'm going to turn it over to Dan now and let Dan tell you about himself.
All right. Thanks, Dave. Thanks, everybody, for coming out today. Yeah, so Dan Callahan, definitely a different background than Dave. I'm not originally from Connecticut. Originally was born and raised on Cape Cod, and started my first business down there as a teenager. It was Calbro's boat cleaning. That's where I got my business bug from, and I've just been fascinated with businesses ever since. So went to Providence College, got my degree in business management, and started my career as a financial advisor. So coming out of school at 22, built my own book of business from scratch, and have the scars to prove it, as I like to say. It did that for about 6.5 years and moved on to work in the travel industry. So I was training travel agency owners in sales and helping them to develop and execute marketing plans and getting sent around the world for free, which is a great perk of the travel industry until there's a global pandemic. Then that's not a very great perk. So around the same time, my brother and his wife are here in Connecticut. They just had their first baby in July of 2020. So I started looking around out here. And that's when I found Dave, or Dave found me, however you want to put it. And it was one of those conversations that within the first 15 minutes, we were both just like, wow, just an incredible fit, both from a complementary background standpoint, but also it was just really clear that we were aligned on our values and our vision for the firm. And it was just really clear that Dave shared my passion for helping people and helping businesses and helping the community. And that's what we're here to do. We're here to help you and to help the community thrive. So excited to have you here for 5 ways to grow your business. I'll send it back over to Dave.
Thank you, Dan. And you will hear more from Dan on this presentation. I'm going to kind of take the first section here, and then Dan will take over about midway, and then I'll kind of wrap up. But we are going to talk about investing your time. So time is the most critical resource for any business owner. And so you really need to make sure that you are investing your time each and every day and not spending your time. And so we are going to show you these things today, all right, about how to make marketing work, because a lot of people are puzzled and say marketing doesn't work for my business. We're going to show you how to make marketing work. We're going to talk about improving your conversion rate, and that's the way we measure your sales process. And is your sales process effective at converting prospects into customers and clients? At the end of the day, we keep score by top line revenue and bottom line profits. We're going to talk to you about that. And this is about learning. So we're going to talk to you about Action Coach, which is what we're part of. And for us, it's always about learning. For you to grow your business, you need to grow yourself. And that is all about learning. So this is part 1, learning. And at the end of this, we're going to talk about part 2, which is applying that learning. So who's with us? This isn't just 2 guys coaching. We are part of Action Coach, which is a global franchise. It has been around for now 31 years. Started in 1993 in Australia and New Zealand. That's where our founder and CEO, and he's still with us, Brad Sugars, that's where he is from. He is now, for about the past 20 plus years, been in Las Vegas. Actually, Dan and I are headed out there next week for our BizX business conference. And so we'll be out in Vegas with our founder, Brad Sugars, and a bunch of other action coaches from around this country and actually around this hemisphere. So we got people from Canada, from Mexico, from the Caribbean who will be there as well. So over the last 30 plus years, it's grown to 1,000 coaching offices, 80 countries around the globe. And you may be wondering, how can this work across all of those different cultures? Well, it works because at the end of the day, business is business. And those principles apply across cultures, across all types of businesses. And so, yes, at the end of the day, we are business agnostic. These principles apply, and that's what we're going to show you today. And we are a vast support network. So not only do we coach, but we get coached. So we actually have a coach ourselves. He's a master coach. He's based out of Milwaukee, but he is part of the vast network that we're a part of. We support one another. So this isn't cutthroat where we're worried about our territories and trying to steal clients from one another. We are mutually supportive. We share information freely. And that's part of being part of a bigger team. And that was really important for me. When I was joining, I grew up playing team sports. I really like being, I'm a team player at my core. And so being part of a team was very important for me. And that's part of our vast support network. So we're going to talk to you about building and growing your business. And we're going to differentiate those two things, building and growing. The primary focus is going to be on growing. That's the 5 ways to grow your business. But we got to put that in the context of building your business. And so when we talk about building and growing, we got to define a business. So this is our definition of a successful business. It's a commercial, profitable enterprise that works without you. So let's talk about how we build that successful business. So there's 6 steps to building a successful business. And it starts first with mastery. And all right, that's about eliminating chaos. So when a business is first starting out, or if it's been around for 20 plus years, there can still be chaos in that business. And so we've got to make sure we eliminate that chaos, because if we don't eliminate that chaos, we can't move on to these higher level things. And so I'm going to talk a little bit more about what are the 4 areas of mastery, but there are 4 things that we have to master. And I'm going to take you through these 6 steps quickly, and then we'll dive into each in a little bit more detail. But there's 4 things that we really need to master to eliminate chaos in our business. And then we can move on to step 2, and that is niche. And that is really about marketing and sales. And that is where Dan is going to take you deeply into the 5 ways to grow your business. So step 2 is where we're going to go deep today. And that's the 5 ways to grow your business. When marketing is working for you and sales are converting prospects into clients, you are building and growing your business, and you have to have really good systems. And step 3 is about leverage, and that's about implementing really good systems in your business, because it's systems that run your business, people that run your systems. And when we have really good systems and we're really efficient, we get more time back. And when we get our time back, then we can start thinking about scaling our business, creating a structure for growth. And that's where we have to have a really good team. That could be W-2 employees. It could be 1099 subcontractors. It could be things that you're just outsourcing to another business. And then we've got a well-oiled machine. Now we're on to the synergy step. And this is where we've built a business, and now maybe we want to expand it. We're in one location, we want to open multiple locations. Some people have a dream of franchising a business. They've built a really good recipe for building a business, and they want to spread it around the country or around the globe. You've got a well-oiled machine, and now you are at the synergy step to do that. And then at the end, this is where you've built that successful business, the commercial profitable enterprise that works without you. And now you've got the freedom to make choices. Do you want to have passive income off that business? Do you want to sell the business? Maybe that's your retirement plan, is I want to build this great business and I want to sell it. And that's my retirement plan. Whatever choice you want to make, you've got the freedom to make it at that point. So those are the 6 steps very quickly to building a business. We're going to dive into each of these a little bit more deeply. And I'm going to take you through the first step, which is about mastery. And at mastery level, it's just about, do you have a commercial enterprise? And that simply means, do you have a product or service that people are willing to pay money for? All right. If you don't, then it's not a viable business. So a lot of people may start a business thinking, I can do this thing or I can make this thing. But at the end of the day, if it doesn't solve a problem for people, then it's not really a viable business. So we work our offices up in Granby. I live in Granby. And if somebody came to me and said, Dave, I want to open up a milkshake shack in town because the one from a few years ago closed down. And I've run the numbers and my business model says I need to charge $40 a milkshake. Now, there's been inflation, but $40 a milkshake is out of this world. And so, no, that's not a viable commercial enterprise because people have solved that problem for less. All right. So that's not a viable commercial enterprise. But if you've got a product or service that people will pay money for, it passes that mastery test. It's a commercial enterprise. So if you've got a commercial enterprise, then you've got to master 4 things. So the first is destination mastery. So do you have an idea of where you're headed? So what is the vision and mission of your business? So we'll talk about vision, mission, and culture. That is really the purpose of your business. It feeds into our marketing. It feeds into our hiring and recruiting. But that's the first thing we have to decide is where are we headed? So if your goal is, well, I just want to pay the bills with my business, if that's all you ever want to do, then that's all your business ever will do. So you have to think more than that. You have to think about something bigger. Is it a legacy that you want to leave behind? Is it a lifestyle that you want to have and you want the business to deliver that lifestyle? So that's really what you need to get your arms around, get your head around in terms of destination mastery. Next is about delivery mastery. At the end, I'm going to talk about really customer delight, and that's far down and down the road in terms of satisfying and delighting customers. But at delivery mastery, it's just passing a very simple test. Are you on time and on quality to your customers or clients' expectations? And if you can't be on time and on quality, don't spend money on marketing, which Dan is going to talk to you about, because you'll attract new clients or customers, you'll disappoint them, and then they'll go elsewhere. So very simply, do you have delivery mastery? Can you be on time and on quality to your customers' expectations? That's delivery mastery. Third area of mastery is about money mastery. And so many business owners, all they look at is, what is my bank account balance? That is not having money mastery. You need to know how you make money and how you can make more money. And that is really just understanding the basics financial statements of your business. So it's not that you need to be trained to be an accountant or a bookkeeper, although I think it's helpful if you understand your books and can keep your own books when you're starting out yourself, just to understand how the business and how the money flows through your business. That's important to understand. So how you make money and how you can make more money. That's really money mastery. So a lot of people will abdicate that responsibility to a bookkeeper or an accountant. And by abdicate, I mean they don't understand what good looks like. So they don't know if the bookkeeper or accountant is doing a good job for them. So you can't abdicate it. You need to understand it. And we help people develop money mastery. And so they understand how they make money, how they can make more money. I highlight that in red because it's really important, and it's something that some people really avoid. Maybe they weren't good at math. They were told they weren't good at math. They look at financial statements and it scares them to death, and they just choose to focus their time and attention elsewhere. So I highlight that in red because it's really important. I highlight time mastery, the fourth area of mastery, in red because it's also super important. And as I said early on, it is the most critical resource for any business owner. And so really mastering your time, there's things that you have to understand yourself. So understanding time mastery is about your self-mastery, making sure you, as the business owner, are focused on the most important things for your business. That's going to tie back to your goals. So when we think about destination mastery, what are your goals for your business? Not only long-term, but what are the short-term? Where do you want to be a year from now? Where do you want to be 90 days from now? That's making sure that you're focused on the things that are going to get you to your goals. And if you're not working on stuff that's not going to get you to your goals, then you don't really have self-mastery. The other area is planning mastery, just making sure you know how to plan your business. And most people don't spend enough time planning. And that's all horizons of planning, from really long-term planning, where you want to be 10 years from now, 5 years, 3 years from now, a year from now, to where you're going to be 30 days from now. Where you're going to be a week from now, and what you're going to do today and tomorrow. So all of those time horizons you need to master. And the third area of mastery, time mastery, is really delegation mastery. And it's making sure that what is not worth your time, and when I say not worth your time, you need to place a dollar value, a rate on your time. Is it worth $20 an hour, $50 an hour, $100 an hour, $200 an hour? You need to decide what your time is worth. And if you're doing things that aren't worth your time, that you could pay somebody $15 an hour to do, and your time is worth $100, that's something you need to take off your plate. You need to systematize it and delegate it to somebody else. So super important. That's, I would say, when we start working with clients, that's the nut. 9 times out of 10, that's the first kind of nut we need to crack, and it's that time mastery piece. And we actually run a workshop dedicated to that. So we give people kind of a heavy dose of how to master their time early on. So 4 areas of mastery. All right. So now, if you've got mastery, and again, not people aren't going to be perfect on all of those areas, but if there's certain areas of chaos that are holding you back, you need to master certain things. All right. Once you've mastered those things, then you can move on to step 2, which is about niche. And I'm going to let Dan take over from here.
All right, thank you, Dave. Yeah, so now we are up to step 2, which is niche or niche, depending on your pronunciation preferences. I only speak one word of French, and it is niche. So now we're up to step 2, and we're talking about a commercial profitable enterprise. So how do we continue to maintain consistent profit in your business? And that all comes from marketing, right? So if I went around the room and I asked everybody, what's your definition of niche? I'd hear things like, oh, it's what makes us different than our competition. It's the segment of the market that we serve better than anybody else. And all of those are great answers. But for us, the Action Coach definition of niche is no price competition. And you might be asking, well, what do you mean no price competition? Price is always a consideration. And yes, price is always a consideration, but we don't want it to be the only consideration. Because when you are selling on price alone, it is a race to the bottom of who can tolerate the smallest profit margins. We don't play that game. And if you have a really clearly defined niche, you don't have to play that game either. Right? So it's all about how do we sell on value. So when it comes to creating your niche, and I'll preface this by saying that I think a lot of times when you're starting out, people say, oh, you have to pick a niche, you have to pick a niche. And if you're just starting out and you decide to pick just one niche, then I hope you have really deep pockets, because it's going to take you a while to build out that niche. So you can serve more than one niche at the same time, but you need to speak to them differently. If you're serving multiple niches, the marketing message needs to be different, so you are speaking directly to those people. So the 2 pieces of creating your niche, the first is your unique selling proposition, your USP, as we will call it. And that is what makes you different. That is what separates you from your competition, but it needs to be something that people are willing to pay for, a differentiator that people are willing to pay for. So for instance, if we're starting a plumbing business, for instance, and we're the only plumbing business in Hartford that drives around in blue trucks. Okay, great. That's a differentiator, but is somebody actually going to pay more money just for that? No, right? So how do you create a value add proposition that makes you different than your competition, so that you are not selling on price alone? And then the second piece is a guarantee. And we believe every business can have a guarantee. And a lot of people jump right to, oh, you mean a money back guarantee? And yes, it could be a money back guarantee, but creating a guarantee is really about understanding what are the fears that people have of doing business with your industry, and how do you address those fears up front and take them off the table, right? So if we go back to Dan's Plumbing, for instance, so if you're looking at 2 advertisements right next to each other, and one is we're John's Plumbing. We have been in business for 20 years. We do X, Y, and Z. And here's our license number, which is about 90% of the ads that I see out there. It looks like a copy and paste of somebody's business card, right? And then right next to that, you see Dan's Plumbing. And Dan's Plumbing says, hey, I'm Dan's Plumbing, and we guarantee that we will show up within 15 minutes of our scheduled call time, or your service call is free. And we guarantee that we will leave the place cleaner than it was when we got there, right? Because if you think about what are the fears that people have of doing business with a plumber, or really anyone in the trades, is they're not going to show up when they say they're going to, and they're going to leave my place a mess when they leave, right? So Dan's Plumbing is addressing those fears up front and taking them off the table. And if you see Dan's Plumbing next to Joe's Plumbing, that we do X, Y, Z, who are you going to call? You're going to call Dan's Plumbing every single time. So really take a hard look at what are the fears that people have of doing business with you and your industry, and how can you create a guarantee that alleviates those fears up front. So because there's good news and there's bad news about marketing. The bad news is that 80% of marketing will fail. The good news is that the 20% works. So as long as you test and measure, you can understand which marketing strategies are working and which are not. And by working, I mean they're returning a higher incremental profit than you invested in that marketing strategy, right? So when you see someone saying, oh, we mentioned this coupon code or mention this ad or scan this QR code, those are all indicators that people are testing and measuring their marketing, because I talk to a lot of business owners that say, oh, I tried marketing, it doesn't work. I tried this type of marketing, it doesn't work. And I'm like, great, how did you measure it? And they're like, well, we didn't measure it. So if you don't understand where your leads are coming from, you have no visibility to what marketing is working and what marketing isn't. So anytime you're doing any type of marketing, but really anytime anyone approaches your business, the first question that you need to ask them is, hey, where did you hear about us? Understand what marketing is reaching people and where you're getting your business from, because ultimately the goal of marketing is to figure out what is that 20% that's working and turn the volume all the way up on what's working, and then that other 80% you either tweak it or you toss it, right? You tweak it to make it better, or you dump it all together. And it really is the depth of measuring that we eventually want you to be able to get to is this. So if we look at two different advertisements here, right? So where the investment for A and B are both $1,000. And at the surface, you see, oh, all right, advertisement A brought us 1,000 leads. Advertisement B only brought us 100. All right, so advertisement A obviously is better, right? Well, then we start looking at our conversion rate. How many sales did we make from that? And our conversion rate was only 10% with advertisement A, where it was 50% with advertisement B. And think of how much more time it's going to take you to reach out to 1,000 leads versus 100 leads. So then you really can start to do the calculus of how are these ads working? How are these marketing strategies working? And what type of prospects and clients are they bringing us? Because if you look at advertisement A, the average sale is $500. Advertisement B is 1,000. So then, okay, now we're looking at the same amount of revenue, and then looking at the profitability, 200 each, right? So if you really start to understand what levels are you really measuring your marketing at, because ultimately what you want to realize is, what is the lifetime value of a customer? How much money is an average customer going to spend with you in the lifetime that they are a customer with you? And then if you want to go even deeper, it's all right, how many referrals did they send me? Right? So you can really, the short answer is you invested $1,000 and you returned 20,000 and 10,000. So use both of these, but it's really about understanding what's the true return on the investment of the different marketing strategies that you have. So then it's really about, so we really want to make sure that we're leveraging our marketing, right? So if you look at the two pictures on here, you'll see the Volkswagen Golf and the Audi R8. And what the rhetorical question, that at least I thought it was rhetorical, was which would you rather have? Although we did have a client recently say that they would rather have the Volkswagen Golf than the Audi R8. Either one is fine, but the idea is that both of these cars are built on the same chassis, right? The foundation of these cars is the same. And if your business looks like the Volkswagen Golf and you want it to look like the Audi R8, we can change what's on top to make that happen. Because most business owners we talk to, they know three things: how many customers you have, what your revenue is, and how much profit you're making. At least as long as you have basic money mastery. You want more revenue, you want more profit, but these are all just results. These are all outputs from your business. So you can't just go and get customers, revenue, and profit directly. You have to focus on the inputs. So what are the inputs that create a higher number of customers, higher number of revenue, and more profitability? So we call this our business chassis, interchangeably our 5 ways to grow your business. And so you'll see in red here the things we want more of: customers, revenue, and profit. So what are the inputs that go into creating more customers, revenue, and profit? It starts with lead generation. So Dan's Plumbing last year had 4,000 leads approach his business, and he converted at 25%. So that left him with 1,000 customers. On average, each of those customers came back twice per year. So maybe they got their sewer line cleared and got a bathroom vanity kit put in. And on average, they spent $100 each time they went. That leaves them with a revenue of $200,000. And then after all the bills are paid, after the employees are paid, 25% profit margin is a $50,000 profit, right? So this business chassis, these 5 ways exist in every single one of your businesses. So where you can start with that is just make sure you are measuring these. These are really important key performance indicators, KPIs for your business. So you need to understand what is the current state of your business chassis. And then we can start looking at ways to increase each of these 5 ways. And I'll show you what that compounding effect has. So we'll start by talking about lead generation. I will preface that by saying lead is generally not where we start when we start working with a business, because it is 6 to 8 times more expensive to go and get a new customer or client than it is to get someone that knows, likes, and trusts you to do business with you again. But just as far as the math flows here, we'll start with lead generation. So the ideal state that you want to get to is a 10 by 10 marketing strategy, where you have 10 marketing strategies that bring you 10% of your business. And the reason we say that is because a lot of times you wind up being really heavy on one marketing strategy or one referral partner, or you're investing a lot into one area of the business, and then something changes, right? So that's a great example. When I was a financial advisor, I had one strategic partner that I was getting about 25% of my business from. And then the leadership in that company changed after a couple of years. And then that piece of my business got cut in half overnight, right? Unfortunately, it had been a couple of years, so I had built up some of these other strategies. But if you're too reliant on one strategy, if the market changes, you can lose a big chunk of your revenue overnight. So is it realistic to get to 10 by 10 in a short time? No, but at least start looking at, all right, what are the 5 strategies that I have that are working, and how do I make those yield as much as possible for me? And if you do not have a referral program or your referral system, this is absolutely where you want to start. We all love getting referrals. Referrals are amazing. And most business owners I talk to, even ones that are building a word of mouth business, aren't intentional about going and getting more referrals on a consistent basis. So having some sort of system, that could be customer incentives, that could be money to your customers for referrals that they send. It could be product promotions if they're sending you a certain amount of referrals. You know, we talk, our founder, Brad Sugars, owned a pet food store, and he would give to anyone that gave him a referral, he would give them a week of free dog food. Right. And he had customers they were bragging because they never paid for any of their dog food because they were sending him so many referrals. It's like, yeah, absolutely. Keep sending me referrals. Your dog can eat for free for their entire life. Right. So how are you incentivizing your customers and your clients? And the most important piece, even if you're not giving anything away, is positioning it with them from the very, very, very beginning of when you start your sales process. So make it a part of your sales process and make it so that you are regularly asking for them. So if you are running a referral business, and you get a referral, you can start that very first meeting by first thanking the person. Say, hey, I want to start by thanking Pete for introducing us. Referrals are the lifeblood of my business. I love to build my business by meeting great people. And the best way for me to do that is by getting great introduction to people like you, like this. So what you're doing right up front there is saying, all right, I really appreciate my referrals. And also, this is how I build my business. So you're already planting the seed in their mind that, oh, Dan runs a referral business. So he's probably going to be asking referrals, right? And so that's where you can really start positioning it right up front. And also having some sort of piece in there around where you can say that you're anticipating them giving you referrals, right? So if you're running a confidential business, I'm not sure you could do this with the laundromat that's on here, but you can play with this and see what kind of language you can come up with. But I want to let you know that everything we talk about here is 100% confidential. The only thing that Pete or anyone else that you introduce me to will ever know is that the two of us work together. What you disclose to him is completely up to you. Right. So just in the very first sentence of my very first meeting, I'm telling that person that I like to build my business through referrals, and I'm also letting them know that I do anticipate that they'll be giving me referrals in the future. Right. So just look at what you're doing around referrals and make sure you're positioning referrals with your clients and customers from the very beginning, and you're asking for them on a regular basis. So that's how you create a true referral system. And then cross promoting is another great way for lead generation. So understand who else is working with your target market. So think about who are your current customers and clients, and where else are they spending their money that is not in direct competition with you. Those people are talking to those businesses are talking to other potential clients of yours. So how can you cross promote with them? If they're sending out invoices, can you get some sort of piggyback mailer on that invoice? Can you be on the back end of that invoice making an offer, and then you can reciprocate on the other end as well? So think about what other businesses are near you, or what other businesses are in parallel industries to yours, but they're not in direct competition. So think about who is in your proximity and how can you create those relationships. And I say make it easy for the other business, because if they're sending out invoices and you're anticipating that for them to stuff flyers into their invoices for you, it's not going to happen, right? So make sure you make it easy for someone. If you're going to be cross promoting with them, go send one of your employees or go yourself and make sure that it happens. But cross promoting is a huge opportunity in every single business. So then ultimately, when we start looking at conversion rate, that's really about your sales process, right? And I talk to a lot of business owners that say, oh, I don't have a sales process. I just talk to people and some of them buy from me. Like, well, that sounds a whole lot like sales to me, right? So no one wants to be the used car salesperson, and I understand that, the word sales can sound like a dirty word to a lot of people, but sales is a noble profession if you're doing it with high integrity and high authenticity. So making sure that as long as your sales process is a discovery process, it's like, hey, here's your problem and here's my solution. And it's a mutual discovery process of, does your problem get solved by my solution? Right? So you've got to start by flow charting and measuring your sales process. Right? So what are flow charting every single step in your sales process, so you're doing it the same way every single time, because what gets measured gets improved. Right? So understanding, between step 2 and step 3, 30% of people are dropping off. What do you need to add in there? Or how do you need to change that? And that's a great place. Maybe that's where you put your guarantee in. Like, oh, well, actually, here's our guarantee. Is that's a great strategy to improve your conversion rate. Client testimonials are a huge one also. So Google reviews are awesome. The highest form of client testimonial is a video testimonial. So the people that know, like, and trust you are the best source to convert new clients for you. So anytime you have a client give you a compliment, have your brain set on, oh, this is a great time to ask for a testimonial, right? Because even when people tell you they're going to give you a testimonial, they get busy and they don't do it right away, right? So it's another thing that you need to systematize and make sure you're doing on a regular basis, is getting testimonials, because it is a huge tool to increase your conversion rate. And systematizing your follow-up process. So I think a lot of people go out, especially if you're doing networking as part of business development, for instance, a lot of people go out to networking events and they get a bunch of people and then they don't follow up with them. Or you have somebody come and approach your business and then you don't hear back from them for a couple of days, and then you're off chasing shiny objects. The people that are warm, the people that have already taken a step towards you, are far more likely to do business with you than somebody that you haven't even met yet. So make sure you have some sort of system for following up with people. And ultimately, that's about building out your entire customer journey. So a lot of times, we think of the sales process as kind of as a funnel, right? And so you've worked so hard to get to find these people, to get them through your sales process, to sign them as a customer. That's really where the hard work begins, because we really want your customer journey to be an hourglass, like you see on the right here. So making sure that if it's 6 to 8 times more expensive to go get somebody new, what are you doing to guarantee to make sure that the people that are already doing business with you are staying, that they are super happy, that you are giving them everything that they need? So having your entire customer journey mapped out, and that means like understanding what information are you capturing? What critical non-essentials are you capturing? So around anniversaries, around birthdays, how are you making sure, and Dave will talk about customer delight a little bit later, but how are you making sure you are delighting your customers so they come back more often, they give you more referrals? That's really the most important piece. And I think a lot of times people don't focus on that enough, but 68% of people that leave a business and change vendors, 68% is because of perceived indifference. So think about that. 2 out of every 3 customers that you're ever going to lose are because they don't know that you care. So what are you doing to make sure all of your customers know that you care? Really, really important for retaining customers. Because ultimately, we're not necessarily after a huge market share, we're after wallet share. Right? So that's when we really start looking at number of transactions. So what are you doing to encourage people to shop with you more often, to come back with you more often? So a great example I love of this is the green napkin. So this was at a restaurant. So you walk into a restaurant and you walk up to the hostess stand and they're, oh, so great to have you here. Is this your first time here? And hopefully they asked, where did you hear about us? If they're actually tracking their leads, right? So it turns out it's my first time at this restaurant. They sit me down and they put a green napkin on my table. And this tells the manager that I'm a first-time customer. So now the manager sees the green napkin. He comes over and says, oh, welcome. We're so glad to have you here. This is your first time here. So hey, here's my business card. We tend to book up on Fridays and Saturdays. You can shoot me a text personally to make sure we can get you in the next time you come. And when you text me, I'll make sure that you get 15% off your next meal. All right, you get a free appetizer for your next meal. How likely is it that I'm coming back the next time? I'm absolutely coming back, right? And then the next time I come back, it's like, oh, great, this is your second time. Hey, so great to have you back. Sign up for our rewards program, and you can get a free glass of wine today. Right. So now I've had 2 really good interactions, and I'm already getting in the habit of coming to this place. So how do you get people in the habit of coming to you? That's all about your customer journey. How do you get them coming back more often? And that's with subscriptions, with memberships, with VIP programs. So how can you make them feel like they're a part of something bigger than just coming in and out of your store, or just doing business with you? You can have exclusive events. You can have offers, bringing a guest as a price of admission. I love that. So even if you're taking your top 5 clients out for lunch, like, great, bring a potential client with you. Right. So how can you have them intentionally pulling more people in and coming back to you more often? And most importantly, what are you doing to build your database? So your job as a business owner is to build your database and to convert them into clients. So, and I talk to a lot of business owners like, what do you mean my database? Like that, your database can live in a lot of different places. Ideally, it's in some sort of CRM, a customer relationship management system, or even a simpler version is, if you just have Constant Contact, MailChimp, but something that you can be doing email marketing out of is super important. And just we live in the digital age, right? Online presence is a must. And even if you're not making sales off of your website, when I get a business card or when I hear about a business, what's the first thing I'm doing? I'm Googling, right? So I'm going to Google them. So if you do not have a Google business page, make sure that you get one immediately. And there's a lot of things you can do to optimize your Google business page. There's great instructional videos on YouTube. There's little things you can do to help yourself in the Google algorithm. And it's not super time intensive, and it can help your SEO a lot. But making sure that you have a website, making sure you have a Google business page, making sure you have a presence on social media, because those are all things that people do. Those are all places people look when they're checking you out, when they're investigating, when they're looking at multiple businesses. If I go to a Facebook page and nobody's posted on it for 3 years, what am I thinking about that business? Like, oh, well, they're not taking their business very seriously. Why should I take their business very seriously? Right. So just making sure that this is all part of systematizing your marketing. Right. So making sure you are staying in front of the people that know, like, and trust you, and then having somewhere for them to go if they're just getting to know you. And as far as building your database, once you start looking at kind of the lifetime value of customers, or your acquisition cost per customer, which again, you can start measuring this stuff as long as you understand how many leads are coming in, and then how many clients you're getting from those leads. That's when you can start looking at what's my acquisition cost per client. And how much is it worth to get? So it gives you how much is it worth for me to get a new one, right? What are you willing to invest to get a new client? So you can be giving things away if making sure if you're doing any type of expo or table, Your job is to get names and numbers. Like that is your job when you're out there marketing, networking, however you're doing it. Your job is to continuously be building that database. So understand what is your plan to go do that. And then you start looking at average dollar sale, right? So how much are people investing each time they're coming to work with you? And that's when you start talking about upselling, cross-selling, and downselling, right? So the classic upsell, do you want fries with that? Is, that's the classic McDonald's upsell, but making sure that you are in the practice of making sure that your customers, your clients, your prospects know everything that you do, right? Because there's nothing worse than hearing these words, and I've heard these words before from a client. It's like, oh, I didn't realize you did that, after they just wrote a check to my competitor. Right. So you've got to make sure that you're creating opportunities to upsell, to cross-sell, and even to downsell. So downselling, you may not have heard too much of downselling, but it's about people's situations change, right? So if they are at a certain investment level with your business, and all of a sudden either their needs go down or their budget goes down, you got to have somewhere to put them, right? Because if you don't, then they're going to get out of the habit of doing business with you, and then somebody else is going to grab them. Right. So where are those places that you can put them? And if you go back to Dan's, or the example of Dan's Plumbing, now every time Dan's Plumbing goes into someone's house, oh, well, I'm here. I offer a free inspection of the other potential trouble points in your house. Would you like to take advantage of that? Right. So now Dan's going in there and he's finding those little things like, oh, this looks a little rusted out. We could replace it, or we could wait until it breaks and then it'll be $5,000. What would you rather do? Right. So how are you making sure they understand what you do, and also planning future purchases? I love this, where it's like, oh, I don't think you're ready for this yet, but this is probably something we want to do in the future. Because half the time people are like, wait, what do you mean I'm not ready for it? I want that thing. And if not, they're still, now you're already, again, you're positioning future purchases with them. Because ultimately, you really want to make sure you're working with only A and B clients. And so how do we talk about A and B clients, right? So A clients are awesome clients. Like, these are your best clients. These are the ones that don't take up a lot of your time. They're super respectful. They send you lots of referrals. They always pay on time. They're raving fans of your business. They tell everybody about you. B clients are, just your basic clients. They're fine. They pay the bills on time. They do a decent amount of business with you. It's really the C and D clients that would, one, hurt your average dollar sale, and two, drain your time. So time vampires are everywhere, and they are the biggest source of taking away profitability from you and your business. So you have to have really good boundaries around what doing business with you looks like, and you've got to stick to those boundaries, because the worst part about C and D clients is they complain about everything. They're always trying to get to drain money out of you. They take up a ton of your time, and heaven forbid they do send you a referral. Guess who they're sending you? They're sending you somebody just like them. They're like, oh yeah, John's great. He picks up the phone at 11 o'clock on a Saturday and spends an hour with me. Do you want more of those people? I don't. Right. So just that is a great way it's from a profitability standpoint. And if you have C and D customers right now, you can send them a letter and say, hey, going forward, this is how we do business. These are the terms in which how we do business. And have that, if they agree with it, great. And if not, you can send them to your closest competitor or your greatest enemy. So really understanding, what does that look like? What do your A and B clients look like? So look at the people you have. How much money do they spend? How much time do they take? And start ranking them. Start looking at those, because that's a great way for you to organically grow your business. So ultimately, it's about margins, right? It's about how much money is actually going in your pocket. So do you understand your numbers? What products, services, clients are the most profitable? If you have different services or different products that you sell, which have the highest profit margins? If you have certain types of clients, which are the most profitable? And how do you go and get more of the most profitable parts of your business? And the biggest piece, and Dave talked about this at the beginning, and this is what we harp on with every single one of our clients, is where are you and your team allocating your time? Are you investing your time, or are you spending your time? Because time is the only limited resource that we have. It's the only thing we can't go get more of, right? And there's a lot of shiny objects out there now. So do you understand what are the most important things you need to be doing to grow your business on a daily, weekly, monthly basis? And are those rocks in your calendar? Are those boulders in your calendar? Because if you're not taking care of those things, you're not going to see the growth that you want to. And if you're not focused on the most important things, what do you think your team's up to? They're probably not focused on the most important things either. Right? So there's a lot of opportunity around where you're investing your time. And then ultimately about pricing, right? A lot of business owners are terrified to raise their prices. I don't want to lose customers by raising my prices, right? And a great example, one of the coaches I went through coaching training with, he was the owner of a coffee shop, and they had their number one seller was jalapeno poppers. I don't know why, but that was the thing. And he told his sales manager, please increase the prices by 15%. And the sales manager heard 50. So he wound up increasing the jalapeno poppers by 50%. And he sold more jalapeno poppers than he ever had before. So really understand that you adding value, how can you add value? Give them true service, upgrade them, give them more than what they expect, right? Because I see a lot of business owners discounting their prices. And so if we look at this, I know there's a lot of numbers on here, but if we look at just the first piece here, we're at a 20% profit margin. Like, oh, well, I'll give a 10% discount to get more customers. You would have to get 100% more customers. You would have to get double your customers to make up for that 10% that you're giving away. And if you look at it on the other side, increasing your prices, like, oh, I'm going to increase my prices by 20%. Or I'm going to increase my prices by 10%, excuse me, with a 20% margin. You would have to lose 33%, more than 33% of your clients to be putting less money in your pocket. So if you raise your prices 20%, or you raise your prices 10%, you would have to lose 1 out of 3 customers would have to leave you for you to be putting less money in your pocket. And guess what? If you're doing that, you're serving less people and making the same amount of money. What do you think that does to your time? Right? So take a look at your pricing, because there's probably room to move up. So after we look at all of those, with just a 10% increase across these 5 ways, look what that does to the numbers. So leads are up from 4,000 to 4,400. Conversion rate from 25 to 27.5, that puts us at 1,210 customers. Number of transactions are from 2 to 2.2. Average dollar sale up to 110, that's 292,000 in revenue. And when you add 10% to the margins, that's 80,000 in profit. So that's a 46% increase in your revenue and a 61% increase in your profitability. And it's not magic. It's not rocket science. It's just 10% compounded 5 ways. So take a look at your 5 ways and think about what strategies can I implement to just make an incremental increase, because it can make a massive difference on your bottom line. All right, great. So you've heard a lot from us. We'd love to hear from you. What is your biggest takeaway or opportunity so far from Mastery of Niche?
Okay. Good morning. I'll go first since I do have a hard stop at 9. I think that for me, the biggest takeaway is the referral. Creating some sort of referral program and to kind of like, I guess, delight the customer at the first time. So the green napkin really resonated, and I'm trying to see how we can implement something like that for the customer's first time.
Awesome. Who else? Who's got takeaways?
Hi, Dan.
Hey, Candace.
How are you?
Good.
So I'm at work and I have to go back off and put my phone away. I'm on my Bluetooth. But my takeaway was the client testimonials and the 10 marketing strategies.
Yes.
Yeah, I have to take a deep dive into those. I was collecting client testimonials, and I thought that those were very beneficial, but just keep that momentum going. Yes. Because that's, people would trust hearing from someone else who had my services.
Yeah, great. Who else? Ryan, John, you got anything?
Well, for me, my biggest takeaway was I'll agree with the referral program because I actually don't have a business, so I'm actually really glad that I was able to join this seminar to just get some basic fundamentals. And the referral program I think is really important because that's me being in my industry, in the food industry. You know, it's a really big piece as far as like creating just the regulars clientele. So, and it's if you have regulars and they refer, I think that's a major important part of the business.
Yeah, absolutely. Super important. Thanks, Ryan. Anybody else? All right. I'll kick it back over to Dave.
All right. Thank you, Dan. All right. And so that is the bulk of what we want to talk about, but it's not the end in terms of building your business. So if you understand your business chassis, you make improvements to that business chassis, and now you've got a lot more customers, you've got to serve those people. And so your business is growing. And so now we need to make sure we've got really good systems. And this is step 3 of building your business. This is really now where we got a commercial, profitable enterprise that works. And that works piece just means that we get the same service, we get the same results each and every time, whether we're doing it or somebody else is doing it, brand new employee is doing it. So we get consistency and repeatability out of our business, whether it's the client experience or it's our marketing strategies or it's our sales process. We're getting really great consistency across the board because we have really good systems in place. So let's dive into leverage. All right. So this leverage, with a lever, you get more output with less input. And we do that by dividing to multiply. So when we went from what Dan just walked you through, the business chassis, from lead all the way down to profit, we broke it down into 5 areas. All right. We make improvements in those 5 areas, and then we multiply, we compound the effect of that. We could do that in systems as well. So when a lot of people look at things and say, I can't systematize that, I need to clone myself. That's the biggest thing that we hear from people is, I can't find somebody else to do it because nobody can do it like me. I need to clone myself. You can't clone yourself. And so you have to break things down. And there is an 80-20 rule in everything. So Dan talked about 80-20 in marketing. 80% of marketing fails, 20% works. There's an 80-20 rule in everything. So if you do something and it takes you 4 hours to do it, I would guarantee you probably 3 hours of that work is redundant work that you could systematize and delegate to somebody that would do it at a lower hourly rate than your time is worth. All right. And then there's probably an hour that requires your experience and expertise to do. So when we talk about systematizing things in our business, it is about dividing things down into smaller pieces, making improvements. We compound and multiply the effect. All right. So systems, we love acronyms because acronyms and formulas, they make you remember things. So remember, systems, it's about saving yourself time, energy, and money. It is systems that run your business, people that run your systems. So you can read this book. So there's a whole series of books from Action Coach. So our founder, Brad Sugars, wrote Instant Systems. You can read this book. It'll help you systematize your business. But 9 steps to systematizing. The first 3, vision, mission, and culture. Those things together, that sounds like destination mastery. So we're going back to why is destination mastery important? You got to have a vision for your business. You have to know how you're going to get there. And you're going to decide how you're going to, what's the culture of your business? What's it going to be like to work in your business? What are the behaviors that you want people to have in your business and that you don't want them to have? All right. So vision, mission, culture, that's really about the purpose of your business, and people want to work for a business with purpose nowadays. So then we got to have SMART goals. So if you don't know that acronym of SMART, it is specific, measurable, achievable, results-oriented, and time-bound. Is just a litmus test of whether so that you know exactly what you're trying to achieve, what the result is, and how you're going to get there in the time frame that you're going to get there. You also have to have an organization chart for your business. And even if your business is small, maybe only a handful of employees and many people are wearing different hats, lay out an organization chart that spells out what are all those different hats, and it may be your name and other employees' names who are wearing multiple hats, but label all of those hats, because as you grow, people will start to take off those hats and give them to other people, starting with yourself as the owner. And then we have positional contracts within that organization chart. And so some people wonder, does that mean a job description? And I'll say that's necessary, but not sufficient. So it starts with the basics of a job description, which is what are the typical responsibilities and tasks you may be assigned. But a positional contract also tells you how success will be measured. So when you employ somebody, you are paying for a result. So be really clear. What is the result that I'm paying for this person that I'm hiring? Typically, how we measure those results that we're paying for is with KPIs, key performance indicators. All right. Those are the metrics that we're going to hold them accountable for. So when it comes time for their performance review, it's not a guesswork whether they did a good job or a bad job. You've been measuring their KPIs, and either they're hitting them or they're not, or maybe they're crushing them. All right. Then you get to step 8, which is the how-to systems, and that's the operating systems of your business. And so it's how to do certain things. So if you're running that milkshake shack, well, at the end of every day, you've got to empty out the equipment and you got to clean it out. So you got to have a procedure for how that's done, so it gets done well each and every time. And then beyond the how-to, in the how-to systems, they can be, again, things as simple as checklists, but they can also be things much more complicated. And how you can document those things is from checklists. You can also have things video recorded. So if it takes, you're doing computer work, you could open up a recording, a Zoom session and record the work, so you can show people how to navigate different computer systems. Again, different ways to operate your business. And then on top of those how-to systems, you need management systems so that you can manage certain things. So in terms of money mastery, it could be at the end of every month, we close our books and we review our financial statements, our profit and loss, our cash flow statement, and our balance sheet. And that's the management, the financial management system for your business. You may also have sales and marketing, where you monitor your sales pipeline on a weekly basis. You look at where are people in your sales process, and you talk about those things. You look at the performance of your marketing strategy, so you know what's working and what's not working. Again, different levels and layers of management systems in your business. And so if that's the steps to systematize, where do you start systematizing? Well, we break it down into 4 key areas. So systems around people and education. So we always want to be building a better, stronger, more knowledgeable team. So from onboarding systems, so when they come in and start work on the first day, what's their onboarding training to get them up to speed in their role? But then continuing education, so people can grow and develop in their roles over time. So we want systems around people and education. Systems around systems and technology. So what technology are we using to make people better and faster at their job? So Dan talked about using a CRM, a customer relationship management software. It could be something as simple as Constant Contact or MailChimp, or things like HubSpot and things like Salesforce. Those are ways to keep in contact with your customers and people in your sales process. So that systematizes it and makes it easier to do that, so people get more efficient and productive. Then we want systems around delivery, distribution, and I'll add service in here as well, delivery, distribution, and service. So these are systems in pursuit of customer delight. So at the mastery level, delivery was mastery about, let's be on time and on quality. In this layer of systems, we're looking at customer delight, because if you are pursuing customer delight, business is a race, and somebody is always trying to take your customers away. And if you are trying to delight your customers, no one will take them away. And how can you find out how you can delight them? Ask them. All right. Send them surveys periodically. Ask them, what are we doing well? What can we do better? What aren't we doing that you would like us to do? All right. So again, systems that around delivery, distribution, service, pursuit of customer delight. And then systems around testing and measuring. Dan talked about testing and measuring your marketing, an absolute must. But then we want to ultimately, over time, test and measure everything in our business, so we're continually improving everything that we do in our business. So now we're up to step 4, and this is about team. So again, you've marketed, you've got more clients and customers coming into your business. You've implemented great systems that give great repeatability and consistency with your service. or your product. And we have to build our team now because the business is growing and you need to hire more employees. So now we're building a commercial, profitable enterprise that works without you. So the without you piece means we got to have a team. So this is the cycle that we coach our clients on. We work on focusing on the owner. And the focus of the owner is to support the team. They do that by staying profitable, paying bills on time, implementing great systems so it makes the team's job easier to do. Because when the owner supports the team supports the customers, and they are customer facing. So they're providing great sales and service, great consistency, a great customer experience. Because when the team is focused on the customers, then the customers can support the business. They do that by spending more money each time, all right, coming to you more often. So number of transactions in the business chassis. They spend more money each time, average dollar sale in the business chassis. All right. They send more referrals. They become a raving fan, which is that the top rung on our ladder of loyalty, a raving fan where they can't stop telling people about your business. Because when customers support the business supports the owner by one, making you more money, and also giving you back your time so you can enjoy that money with the people that you care about. All right. So that's the cycle that we coach on. So keys to a winning team. All right. It starts with strong leadership. A lot of people find themselves as the owner of a business and leading a team, and maybe they've never had any supervisory or management experience. They've never been in any type of leadership position before, and they can be like a deer in the headlights. So we have to address that, make sure that they're providing the right leadership for the team. With a strong leadership, then we can make sure everyone's pulling in the same direction. They've got a common goal. So we don't have different agendas. Everyone's focused on the same thing. We've got rules of the game, which can kind of be a subset of culture, but it can be on our team. How do we decide what we're going to work on? How do we decide who the leader is? How do we resolve conflict on the team? How do we decide what to work on? So some rules of the game. And then the team has an action plan. So we know who is doing what by when. So there is accountability. Everyone's got a job to do, and everyone's accountable for doing their job. And because the team on the previous chart was they support the customers, they're going to see the opportunities to improve that customer and client experience. So we want to support their risk-taking in improving that client experience. Not reckless risk-taking, but prudent risk-taking. And then in terms of continually improving everything, we have 100% involvement and inclusion. So it means everybody's included. So we don't have a special group that works on improving things. We include everybody on it. And if everybody's included, it means everyone needs to be involved. It doesn't mean like, no, I don't want to participate. I'm just going to go sit over here in the corner and scroll on my phone. No, if you're included, it means you're involved and you've got to pull some weight in terms of making things better for the team. So big thing about team, most business owners have a challenge finding, hiring, and retaining people on their team. So this is something we dive into deeply. So first, it's a question of when is it time to recruit? So you do some task and time analysis. So this goes back to the time mastery piece. Do your own task and time analysis. If you're doing stuff that you shouldn't be doing, you're going to delegate it. Delegation mastery. Who are you going to delegate it to? We've got to decide who we're going to recruit. So deciding how much your time is worth. Looking at, is this a spike in activity or is this permanent demand? If it's permanent demand, there could be different ways that you fill that need. It could be through an apprentice. If you're in a trade, bring on an apprentice. It could be a subcontractor or a 1099 person, or it could be a full-time W-2 employee. So if it is time to recruit and fill that position, finding the right team, it is about marketing. So Dan talked about the sales funnel, but he showed you an hourglass where the close is just the beginning of the client journey. But we talk about a hiring funnel. So to get people to the top of your hiring funnel, it is marketing. And people want to work for a business with a purpose. So if you're just hanging out a sign, now hiring, who do you think is going to respond to that sign? Not somebody who wants to work for a business with a purpose. So thinking about your vision, mission, culture, back to destination mastery, you're going to use that vision, mission, and culture in your job postings because it's going to talk about the purpose of your business. That will attract people who are engaged with your vision and your mission. And then hiring for skills versus attitude. Again, old way of thinking is hire for skill. But then when we find out that they had great skill, but they've got a really bad attitude, we fire them. We got to flip that around. We got to screen for attitude first. So what are the personality traits that you're looking for on your team? Back to culture. So what's the culture? What are the behaviors that we want on your team? Let's screen for those up front. That's the right attitude. With the right systems in place, we can train people for skill. All right. So hire for attitude, train for skill. And then if you're marketing, think about where you're fishing. Are you fishing on the vast ocean of Indeed? I'm not saying that's the wrong place to do it. That is actually where I found Dan. But maybe you don't need to be fishing in the ocean. Maybe there's a very small pond that you could be fishing in that has a lot of the people that you're looking for. And then marketing is all about standing out. So how do you stand out? If your posting looks like everybody else's because you copy and pasted somebody else's job posting and just changed your company name and maybe tweaked a couple of the responsibilities in there, it looks like everybody else. You're not standing out. You need to stand out. Your posting needs to look different. And I guarantee you, if you talk about vision, mission, and culture up front early in it, and you're talking about attitude up front, that will help you stand out. And then deselection versus selection. So as you have this process, a selection process means you decide, it's on you to decide who makes it to the next step of the process. With a deselection process, you set up gates where people choose to not take the next step. And so we help people create a deselection process for their business so that people decide not to take the next step. All right. That could be asking them to do some skills tests, some extra steps like, record yourself on video and tell me why you're the best person for this job. Some people won't want to do that. If they don't want to work for your business. So there's different ways you can set up deselection criteria so people opt out. So at the bottom of that funnel, you just have the very best candidates. We're not looking for a lot. We're looking for the best few because that's the people that you want to interview. So deselect versus selection. So if finding the right people is marketing, hiring the right team, it is selling. So you have to have a sales process. So one, benchmark. What are the best in the industry doing out there? All right. It could be just benchmarking. Definitely you're going to have to benchmark around wages and comp because over the last 4 years, inflation is a thing again. So salaries have increased. So baseline compensation, but I hope we've shown you that there's other levers in your business that it doesn't mean that just because you pay people more, your profit has to shrink. There's other levers in your business. Think about incentives, what we call critical, non-essential. So it could be those things that you don't think are critical to the position, but it may be, some essential for somebody else. Like maybe somebody wants some extra unpaid time off because they've got an aging parent that they need to take care of. So ask them, are there other things that you might need in this position in order to become our next great employee? All right. Think about employee acquisition costs. So I'm going to use Dan's plumbing example again. So if Dan had 5 trucks on the road and he has a guy leave and now he's only got 4 trucks on the road, what is it costing him in profit every single week not to have that truck on the road? When you do that math, it changes your calculus about what you're willing to do to fill that position more quickly. Not necessarily in base wages and compensation, but like if it's costing me $5,000 a week in profit to have that truck on the road, would I give somebody a $5,000 sign-on bonus to fill that position a week or 2 earlier? Absolutely. All right. So think about employee acquisition costs and what you're willing to do to pay that to get that person on your team quicker. At the end of that funnel, you found this great candidate. You want to make them your next great employee. At the end of it, you need to convert them. You need to be a great boss in a great business. If you don't know why you're a great boss or a great business, get clear on that because you'll need to convince somebody that you're a great boss and a great business to work for. So you've converted them. Now this starts the employee journey. So again, I've talked about the funnel, but it's really an hourglass. Now you're talking about the employee journey. All right, what's it like? So you got to have a program in a system around retention. Again, benchmark. What are other people in the industry doing in all types of industries? It doesn't mean you need to have beanbag chairs and foosball tables like Google, but maybe you want to. All right. There's different things that you're doing that you can do out there around having a system and a program around it. Do stay interviews. So if you've got longtime employees that have been with you for a long time, ask them, interview them. Why have you stayed with us this long? All right. Understand those things. For brand new employees, ask them, what will it take for you to stay with us for a long time? I guarantee you part of that, what will keep them there is a growth and development path, because I do believe most human beings want to grow and develop throughout their career. So have growth and development tracks. I listed here in retention, but you're going to need to talk about this in the marketing, in your job posting, about we're hiring for this position, but there's this type of growth and development opportunities in the business. You'll have to talk about it in your sales process, talk about we're going to hire for this, but then you've got these multiple branches maybe to grow and stay with the business. Have retention incentives. So it could be we do annual merit increases. So if somebody has met their KPIs, they could get a raise. If they've knocked their KPIs out of the park, they could get a discretionary bonus. Beyond that, there could be profit sharing. And the next level is when the business does well, every employee shares in the success of the business. That could be a profit sharing plan. At the top of the ladder of retention incentives is some kind of equity stake. So when you found that forever employee that you want to keep forever, give them some stake in the business. Give them some shares in the business so they've got some skin in the game. Last, certainly not least, is engage and empower. So I do believe also that most human beings like to have some control over their own destiny. So engage them, get their ideas about how to make the business better, and then empower them. So when Dan comes up with a great idea, say, all right, Dan, that's a great idea. You've got point. You've got lead on implementing that idea in the business. So engage them and empower them. Let them have some say of what's going on in the business. All right. So that's how you build a great team. Then you're up to steps 5 and 6 of the 6 steps to building your business. It's growth, scaling, synergy level, and then freedom. You've got the results that you want. I'm not going to dive deeper into this because this could be a whole other workshop, which is about succession and exit for your business. But again, you've reached that level. You can scale, you can grow, and then you've built the business that you've always dreamed of. So I want to go around the room. I want to get everyone's feedback that's been on here. What's your biggest takeaway from today's session? So I'm just going to go around the virtual room and I'm going to call on you. Just give us your biggest takeaway from today. So Candace, we'll start with you. Candace, you might have jumped off. I'll jump to Ryan. Ryan, what's your biggest takeaway?
So for me, because I'm an individual who is really, really wanting to start his own business, I think the biggest thing for me was the marketing and understanding the niche aspect, and understanding just how to go out there and put my name out there and how to end up retaining customers. And because I already know that word of mouth is the number one most important, I believe, way of marketing, but the referral program I think is a really important piece to understand.
It is. Thank you, Ryan. So that is really important. So especially when you're starting out, you will have to spend time and money on lead generation, because a brand new business, word of mouth, brand new business, there's not going to be a lot of mouths talking about you. So you're going to have to do some other marketing. And while Dan talked about when we look at a business chassis, we usually pick other lower hanging fruit, and it's usually not lead gen if you're an established business. But for a brand new business, you will have to spend time and money on lead gen to let people know about you. It's about getting your name out there. Thank you for sharing that, Ryan.
Yes,
Let's jump over to John. John, what's your biggest takeaway? John, I think you're on mute.
Okay. My biggest takeoff is basically listen to your process of what you went through in terms of how to build a team. I thought that was very, very interesting as to how you layered it from one thing to another to build a team. I thought it was wonderful. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, John. Let's go to Abel.
Good morning. How are you?
Good.
Apologize. I came a little late. I couldn't find the link, but I was eager to be here. And what it caught my attention was the when you're hiring and retaining individuals, give them a part besides making them give them responsibilities and make them part of the team. Even part once you start growing, make them part of the company. I think that's key to retaining individuals that want to grow with the company, because then they'll feel, no, they'll be part of the company, and by having more skin on the game, they'll be more eager to get things done.
Great. That 100% Abel. That is the key, because just like you want to build lifetime customers, you want to build lifetime employees. All right. You want to keep people longer, right? Because it is very costly to churn through employees. All right. You spend so much time in investment training people. And if you can give them a place to stay and grow and develop, that's a winning formula. Thank you for that.
100%. Thank you.
Chris Ann, are you with us?
Yes, I am. I learned a lot from this Zoom meeting. I think my biggest takeaway is continuing the marketing process, like being consistent on it, and also the pricing. The pricing of stuff, pricing too high, pricing too low, and knowing your right target market to sell that value proposition to.
Okay. Thank you, Chris Ann. Let's go back. Is Candace on, or is Candace still off? All right. Katani, you want to share anything?
I think the biggest takeaway for me, though, that one that resonates most with me is marketing and understanding how to put the numbers in marketing, in ways to market. I think that's really critical, not just for, I'm speaking in terms of the clients that I talk to, but also in terms of people. How we get it out there, how we can really focus. Again, there are a lot of things.
Okay, that's great. Thank you. All right. So we're getting close to the end here. So I'll start to wrap things up. So Jim Rohn, a business guru and an early mentor of our founder, Brad Sugars. So our founder met Jim Rohn when he was 14. This is one of his quotes. So never wish life were easier, wish that you were better. So work harder on yourself than you do on your job or your business. So if you want to grow your business, you need to grow, it's always about learning and self-development, because what's holding you back is yourself right now. What's holding back your business is yourself. So keep learning, keep pushing yourself to learn new things. All right. And then I just want to talk briefly about us. So who do we work with? As I said early on, we are business agnostic, but just some of the niches that have developed for us over the last 4 years. So we work with professionals. So from attorneys and law firms to accountants and accounting firms, financial planners. We work with trades, contractors, electricians, plumbers. So what's the difference between those two? Well, they both know something, all right? They've got a skill, a trade, whether it's a legal skill or whether it's a plumbing skill, but they don't know a lot about running a business, all right? And so that's some of the niches that have developed for us. We also work in the real estate space. So with architects, interior designers, not-for-profit businesses, what we call for impact businesses. We coach those as well. And we've got a special certification with an action coach to coach non-for-profit businesses. Also, IT, telecom, digital marketing, those also are great referral partners for us. And then my own background, we've got manufacturing clients as well. So that's just a kind of a smattering of who it is that we work with right now. How do we work with clients? So it's all a matter of how fast you want to go. So at the top is the fastest. We work one-on-one with business owners, or it could be some partners in a business, or it could be a business owner and some of their leadership team. But that's the fastest pace. We've got Mentor Club, which is a group of business owners getting coached together because they're working on similar things. Action Club is actually like a business. It's a business boot camp, and it's highly educational, a curriculum-based program. It's all the basics that we covered here that every business owner needs to know. Growth Club is a planning workshop that we do 90 days. So I talked about planning mastery and breaking goals from long-term goals down into near-term goals. We do that with our clients every 90 days with a full day planning workshop where people plan the next 90 days of their business. And then Profit Club, it's a group program that runs twice a month. kind of a mastermind group needs coaching. And so we got a group of business owners, everyone brings a challenge that they're working on, and they get help from the other business owners as well as Dan and myself on the call. So we've got a variety of different ways that we work with clients, as well as doing strategic planning workshops. We do executive coaching for public companies. And then, as I mentioned, succession and exit, those steps 5 and 6 of the plan of the 6 steps to build your business. And then seminar club is things like time mastery workshops, team building workshops, culture development workshops. Those are more kind of one-off things that we do. So I mentioned early on this workshop, the 5 ways to grow your business. That's the learning piece. Now it's time for part 2, which is about applying that learning. So you're probably one of 2 places: either do it yourself, which is, I've learned some great things, I want to just go apply that, and that's fine. But my question is, why haven't you done it already? All right. And so usually it's got something to do with time. You'll be inspired after this and you want to go try things, and then the day will take over and things will start to hit you in the face, and you'll have to go take care of other things. Or you're in place number 2, where you want to learn the shortcuts to build a better business. So if you're in that place where you want to learn some shortcuts, we offer a 90-minute business strategy session. So it is complimentary for those who qualify. It's normally a $295 strategy session. And what I mean by qualify is, if you're interested in that, we can schedule that. We've got 5 spots available. We will take you through a complimentary phone call where we're going to take you through, have you complete a business background questionnaire. So we just get a level of understanding of what are your goals, what are the challenges in your business. We'll sit down for a phone call. We'll review that. And from that, we'll decide, does it make sense? Is there enough here that we might be able to help you on? One, we need to be able to find out, can we make you more money? All right. Do we like each other? And ultimately, are we going to be able to help you grow your business? So if we answer yes to those on that phone call, we would take you through that 90-minute business strategy session to help you understand how to apply these principles in your business. So again, complete a questionnaire. We do a free phone call. There we decide together whether there's enough opportunity for a strategy session, and you can sign up with Dan on your way out. If you're interested, for those folks that are online, all you have to do is put it in the chat that you are interested in a strategy session. We've got some times here. You'll see it's the first week of November, because I mentioned early on, Dan and I are headed out to a business conference with Action Coach next week. But we've got time available that first week of November if you're interested in that strategy session. All right. As well, and again, you don't have to pick a time now, but again, for those folks that are on virtually, all you have to do is put your name, contact information in that chat that says, yes, I'm interested in a strategy session, and Dan will be in touch with you. All right. So we are on time here at 9:30. We thank you for attending today. It was great to meet all of you. I'm glad you all got some great takeaways from this session. And I'll just open it up if anybody's got any final comments or questions for us at this time.
No, I don't.
Ryan?
And I just really appreciate you all for just giving this type of information, because I think it's really important. Because especially, I know for my industry and the food industry, I feel like, these types of seminars are really important, because a lot of people are trying to stray away from these larger companies and go out on their own. So I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Ryan. Okay, if we've got no other questions or comments, again, if you're interested in your virtual, put your information in the chat. We'll capture that and we'll be in touch. And if there's no other final comments, I wish everybody a great day, and thank you for joining us today. Okay.
Thank you.
All right.
Thanks a
I'll
lot.
stop the share. Okay. And